We know that attention is absolutely critical. If you're not paying attention to me right now, then you won't remember anything I say later.
Spark Neuro is a neuroanalytics company that was founded in 2017 by cognitive psychologist Spencer Jarrell. Instead of using traditional research methods like surveys and focus groups, Spark Neuro go directly to the source by measuring the brain to see exactly when people are engaged and when they're not.
I founded Spark Neuro because I realized that there was a really major gap in the industry and across all forms of research and communications. The methods that have applied to research for the last number of decades have not changed very much, and they're really rooted in these self-report methods, one of which, for example, is focus groups. Now, think about what happens in a focus group and some of the biases that apply. One element is called groupthink, and if you've ever been a part of a focus group, or let's say a jury, you know that there's one person in the room who tends to be really charismatic, who really drives the conversation forward, and everyone kind of follows their lead. There's another bias called social desirability bias, which is really just a fancy way of saying people don't want to be judged, and they want to look cool. And what that does is it gives us data points that we really can't rely on.
The way in which we use our technology is by combining a number of biometric and neurometric sensors. So the most important of which is a wireless EEG headset. The device passively listens to electrical signals that your brain generates and how these signals change when you become more engaged or tuned into what you're watching. The next sensor that we use is something called GSR. This stands for galvanic skin response. As someone becomes more engaged, excited, or even from a nervous system perspective, more aroused as opposed to more calm, the amount of sweat on their palms changes. The next is facial expression coding. And for this, we just use a simple webcam. But the secret sauce, so to speak, is in the algorithms that process microfacial expressions. When someone's facial expression changes even for a fraction of a second, our software records this and automatically processes it so that we can understand how much they're smiling or frowning. We also use an eye tracker to record where people's eyes are focused as they're watching video content.
Our primary clients continue to be major brands who spend tens or hundreds of millions of dollars on advertising. And when you're spending that much money outlaying ads, you need to make sure that every second counts. We're not just saying, overall, how did the ad perform? But we're saying, hey, in those first few critical seconds, did you engage people right away? And if you did you continually engage them? And is there a point at which they drop off?
You're 32 years of age, and you don't know how to make a grilled cheese sandwich. Its name is the recipe, you
One thing that many people have seen are the cases where brands have gotten it wrong, where they were culturally insensitive and in some ways offended small or even large groups of people. We had one client who had an ad that everyone at the client really thought that this was a really entertaining and funny ad. And when we researched it, we realized that among a large number of people, it was actually seen as racist. And in this day and age, you don't want to be tone deaf to any of those issues. And so in addition to making sure that we're just making the most engaging content in the world, we're also saving companies from making huge cultural faux pas that they don't intend to make. There isn't a single industry that's immune to understanding humanity. And so as the tools of neuroscience have become more accessible, as we've built the technology that allows us to measure directly from your brain and nervous system, that cuts across all industries, starting with ads and moving into entertainment. But what about healthcare? What about politics? What about counter-terrorism and national security? Oftentimes when you look at an industry that's being disrupted, the initial instinct is to recoil from that, to be afraid of the change. However, in this case, the methods that we are disrupting, the industry's ready for them to change. We're using technology now that you can just wear on your head, and that provides a whole new level of advancement that the likes of which the industry hasn't seen before.